Welcome everyone to Coachology in 20, where we learn coaching concepts in 20 minutes. If you're tuned in, please say hi. Let me know you're here, where you're tuned in from. If you're brand new to coaching, get your notepad, get your pen, get your tablet, however you like to take notes, sit back and take some notes from today's session. If you're an experienced coach or a seasoned coach, get your fingertips at the ready and share your wisdom, thoughts, and what crops up for you so we can share this wisdom together. We can use the wisdom in the room. And today, what we're going to be looking at this is our 5th session of Coachology in practice. We're going to be looking at why coaches don't give advice. So we've been looking at the difference between coaching and therapy, coaching and different other methods of support. We've talked about the 8 key skills of coaching in our previous sessions. We've looked at what coaching is. And one of the recurring themes that comes across as a coach, when we're learning to understand what it means to be a coach, is that we don't give advice. But very often or very little do we actually sit and think and reflect. Why don't we give advice as a coach? It's not just because it's written in some codes. There's a meaning, there's a purpose to why we don't give advice as coaches, and why coaching is a method of support of its own, and how it can be very beneficial and supportive for individuals. So if you've had coaching before and you love that thought of not giving advice, not being told what to do, put it in the comments box. If you have had a coach before that's given you advice, and they've not actually coached you. So please feel free to share your experience where you've been given advice by a coach in the comments box. And today we're going to clarify all this so it should become a lot more clear on what we do as a coach and why we don't give advice. But before I get into the 7 key reasons to why we don't give advice as a coach, I want you to take a moment and I just want you to reflect on this image of a pig. What does a pig mean or represent for you? Drop it in the comments box. I'm not going to be putting any comments in the space today. I'm taking a break from that this week, but I am here with you. So please drop in the comments box your perspective of a pig. What does it represent for you? I'm going to give you a moment just to think about this, put the comments into the comments box. And there's a purpose for this exercise. So whilst you're finishing your comments, while you're putting the comments in there, your perspective, what a pig means or represents for you, if you keep this sane and clean for today, please. We're not going to be having any inappropriate comments being brought in. So if we look at a simple concept as a pig, we come from different perspectives. For the everyday person, maybe it represents something we eat, say a bacon sandwich, a pork chop, something we put on the plate. For a farmer, they have a very different perspective. They're growing, nurturing, and herding pigs. I get my words right. Going off on a farmer tangent there. But they're growing and they're nurturing pigs in order to send to the slaughterhouse maybe down the line, and then to make profit. So pigs become profit for farmers. For adults or the average person, as I mentioned, it could represent food. If you ask a child or a kid what a pig means for them, then they could think of Peppa Pig. They could think of anything that's related to cartoons. So they see a pig as being friendly, cuddly, as a friend, and something that inspires them through their series. If you were to ask a Muslim, it has a religious connotation to it and a religious perspective. So the purpose of this exercise is when we look at something as simple as a pig, we have all these different perspectives, and it's dependent on our experience, our background, our biases, what we've learned, and all this can shape our perspectives. And everybody has a different perspective for something as simple as a pig. Now imagine if we're talking about serious concepts, serious life events, serious goals, dreams, challenges, whatever our clients are working on. There's so many different perspectives and different experiences. And what I'd like you to think about is on this simple illustration of a pig, I want you to imagine a farmer giving advice to a Muslim. How is that going to go down? What's going to be the impact? Is there going to be a relationship built there? So just reflect on that for a moment. Imagine a farmer giving advice to a Muslim. It's going to create friction. There's two very different and very detailed perspectives that each, the farmer and the Muslim, has of a pig. It's going to cause clash. It's going to cause friction. They're going to have different views. And the advice from a farmer is not going to be received very well from the Muslim. They have very different experiences and perspectives of a pig. Now, I want you to think about this. We're looking at something really simple as a pig. Now, imagine we're giving advice with regards to people's goals, to their challenges, to their dreams, whatever it is they're coming to us for our coaching. Imagine the impact that we can have in a negative way when we give unsolicited advice, or we give advice in that space. We need to remember one thing. Generally, when people come to us for advice, they don't come to us for advice. They come to us for approval. Think about a friend, a family member, somebody that's come to you for advice. They already know what they want. They already know the option that they want to take, but they're looking for someone to validate that option, to help them make it easier to make that choice. And if we side with them, if we say this is a good option, this is great, go for it, then we become their best friend. If we go against them and give them advice against what it is they want in the direction they're going, we can become their enemy. So often people don't come to us for advice, they come to us for approval. That's very important for us to note and to keep in our mind as a coach. Now, there's 7 reasons why we don't give advice as a coach, and I've illustrated the impact that advice can have when you have very different and wide perspectives of something simple as a pig. And now when we think about our clients, we think about what they're going through, what we're helping support them with, the 7 reasons why we don't give advice. The first is that advice is egotistical. Often we think we're giving advice for our clients, but really we're giving advice for ourselves. We feel like we need to be providing some sort of value, so we maybe ask leading questions in the form of advice. We bring in our own thoughts, assumptions, biases. We do it to make ourselves feel better, like we're contributing and giving value to the session. But often that is from a place for ourselves and not for the individual, because we haven't taken into account that whole individual's perspective and understanding and experience of what they're going through. In coaching, there's no one shoe size fits all. We might feel like we've seen this problem before. We might have a solution that's worked for us. We might have a framework that's worked for us and worked for other clients in the past. But under our code of ethics, we are under a duty to act in the best interests of each client. And each client is very different and they come from a different space. So when we give advice, it's generally for ourselves, our own satisfaction, for our own, to feel like we're giving value to that space, and it's not beneficial for our clients. The second reason we don't give advice is because we assume a duty of care. And a lot of coaches, when they're new and they're giving advice, and I know a lot of gurus will give advice, we'll talk about them in a moment, what they fail to understand is that they're actually putting themselves in a bit of a sticky legal situation. Because when we give advice, when we're providing solutions that are coming from us as an individual, then we're assuming a duty of care. We can be held liable for the outcome that that individual receives. So let's say, for example, we are coaching somebody who wants to quit their job and set up their own business. Now, as a coach, it's something we can work with. We need to go through maybe a tool like a SWOT analysis, some kind of decision-making tool so they can weigh the pros and cons. We can look at their strengths, their experiences. We can look at everything that's working for them to see and guide them to their own answers to whether or not they're in the position right now or in the future, whenever's right for them, to make that transition from their 9-to-5 to their own business. But imagine we were to tell the client, 9-to-5, you're under somebody else's hours. When you move to your own business, you can get your own freedom. You can get your own this. I think you should quit your job and go to your business. The client listens to you, sees you as an inspiration because it's something that you've done. They've gone, they quit their job, they're handing their notice the next day, they start to build a business, but they haven't got any thought behind the business that they want to build. They've got no strategy, they've got no business plan, they've got no business model, none of this. So they quit their job, they put all their savings into their business, and it goes bankrupt within the first year. As a coach, we assume the duty of care. We give that advice to that individual. We are liable for the outcome, and a client could come and sue us for giving that information and assume that duty of care and tell them the benefits, the false benefits of what they can achieve by coming through and quitting their job and setting up their own business. So we don't give advice because we don't want to assume a duty of care for our clients. We are there to help them understand what's best for them. We're there to use tools, frameworks, questions to challenge their thinking. We should be coming from a perspective of both to help the client see both. What's the big risks with you taking that leap from your 9 to 5 to your business? Let's capture this. Let's sit this down. Let's make sure you've got everything in place. Is this something you definitely want? What's driving this? There's so many questions we can ask over a series of coaching questions to see if this is suitable and how the client can do this in the most risk-averse way. I mean, there's a big risk taking that anyway, but how do we mitigate those risks with our clients? We don't give the advice as a coach. Third reason, advice disempowers, especially when you're given unsolicited advice. If it's not something that the client's coming to themselves, and it's not a conclusion that they're coming to themselves, and I can see my internet's been a bit choppy there, so hopefully that came across. But giving advice disempowers. We take away that power from the client to come up with their own answers, their own solutions, to give us thoughts and opinions from their perspective. When we offer that approach, we disempower them. When we tell them what they should be doing, where they are right now, where they need to be, we're taking that power from them. And this leads on to the fourth reason to why we shouldn't give advice. Not only does it disempower, but it also we only come from a limited perspective. Our experience, our biases, our assumptions, our judgment, our advice is formed on our experience, not the experience of the client. And if we don't put ourselves, if we don't go back to the key skills we've learned about so far that we've talked about, we don't listen deeply with empathy, if we don't ask powerful questions to fully understand what is going on for the client, and we're given advice, the advice comes from a very limited perspective. We need to, as a coach, to put ourselves the best we can into the shoes of the client. And we need to ask those questions that empower our clients and provide an open perspective that the client comes from. So we're there to help them, guide them to a new perspective, but we do that through questions, we do that through awareness, through self-discovery, through the tools that we bring into our coaching practice. We don't tell them the new perspective that they need to see things from. So generally when we give advice, we're coming from a place of our own bias, our own assumptions, and our own judgment, and we're not coming from a place in which we fully understand what's going on for the client. So it is a limited perspective, and also advice disempowers. So they're kind of nicely linked together. And the fifth link here that connects both what we've been talking about just there in terms of the limited perspective and the fact that it disempowers is also it can lead to clients becoming dependent on us. Now, you will get some unethical coaches. I mentioned the gurus earlier on, the cults out there. They are designed cleverly and psychologically to make you dependent on them, so you keep coming back to pay more and to get more. So you're paying their wages, their salary, and you're paying their bills. So coaches shouldn't give advice because we don't want our clients to be dependent on us. Coaching is there to empower, to build confidence, to build self-awareness in our clients, to make their own decisions and become independent. So dependence is a complete opposite of what we're trying to achieve through our coaching relationship with our clients. But unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches calling themselves coaches that are essentially stealing your watch and then selling it back to you by telling you where you are, where you need to be, and how you need to get there. They're creating a dependence that you need them to make your next decision. You need their support or their opinion for the next step that you take in your business or in your personal life. And that dependence can have a long-term psychological impact on our clients. So we don't give advice because we don't want to create that dependence. Advice creates dependence. Questions, frameworks empower individuals to become independent. And that's what we want our clients to become. We are not there to try and get as many coaching sessions as we can out of our clients. We're there, we should have the mindset as an ethical and professional coach to see how we can help our clients achieve their goals as quick as possible, without rushing, without pushing, without forcing them, but in a way that we want to see them succeed at their pace and at a time frame that is right for them. And the sixth reason is if we give unsolicited advice, we create resistance and defensiveness. So some clients will get resistant, they will get defensive. I'm an individual that if you give me advice when I'm coming to you for a coaching session, I will get resistant, I will get defensive because I'm not coming to you for unsolicited advice. I need a space to talk through what I'm going through my plans, through my strategies. I need you to ask questions to see any blind spots that I might have with me. And as soon as you tell me what I should be doing in my business, or you give me that unsolicited advice, you're breaking that relationship with me. I don't want that. I don't want to continue. I want to end it. So when we give advice and we do it in an unsolicited manner, this can create resistance, it can create defensiveness, and it can break down that coach-client relationship. And I'm sure if you're tuned in, let me know if you feel that when you get unsolicited advice from somebody that you haven't asked for, maybe they give you opinion on something you've built, they give you thoughts on something you're doing, they think they know better than you, they put yourself in a position where they're here and you're there, it automatically creates that resistance and defensiveness. Let me know in the comments box if you've experienced this as well, if you've been resistant or defensive when advice has been given. Because we need to remember, as a coach-to-client relationship, it's symbiotic. We see our clients as a whole, there's nothing wrong with them, they're just not performing at the best of their ability right now. We are not better than them, we don't know better than them, we're not in a place to give advice because we haven't walked the same path they've walked. We might have walked something similar, we have different backgrounds, different experiences, different cultures, maybe in some sense, and also different ways of thinking. So we're very different. So another reason we don't give advice is to avoid resistance and defensiveness and breaking down the coach-client relationship. And the final reason is if we give advice, the client is missing out on opportunities. When we are thinking our own limited perspective, which we talked about earlier on, when we're giving advice on how they should structure their business, the marketing strategies they should use, that's all from our perspective. If we don't open up, ask open questions, get a deeper understanding of what's going on for the client, help them get to a deeper self-awareness, self-discovery of themselves as an individual, what it is they truly want to work on and how they can get there, then if we do that, if we open that up, we open the client up to more opportunities. We get them to think differently from a place of that's aligned with them and themselves, their values, their beliefs. We keep it open and we're not pushing our perspectives, our beliefs, our values, our biases on them because it's steering them down one direction and we're leading them down one path. Every other path that they have an opportunity to go down, they're missing because they're being guided by ourselves. So by giving advice and not asking questions, we are actually providing the client with missed opportunities for growth. We're taking away, as we mentioned earlier on, we're taking away their power. They're not building their confidence because they become dependent on ourselves, and that is not coaching. Coaching is there to empower. We're there to guide. We're there to facilitate. We're there to question and challenge their thinking. We're there to be curious. We're there to ask those questions to change the way in which our clients think to achieve what it is they want to achieve. We're not there to tell them what to do because we're amazing and we've done it before. And it's not what we do as a coach. So the key takeaway from today is, as a coach, we don't give advice for those 7 reasons. If you want to learn more about coaching essentials, everything that we're talking about in this Coachology in 20 series, and you can scan the QR code on the screen. That will take you to my book, Coaching Essentials, which is one of 5 books in our coaching education series, our bite-sized coaching series, which has 5 different books. But this is the one for all those that are new to coaching. This is where you can start your coaching practice without investing lots of money into expensive programs to find out whether or not coaching is right for you. And we cover everything that we're doing in this Coachology in 20 series in more detail in the book. So I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. I can see we've had lots of comments coming in today. I'm taking a little bit of break from comments, but I am happy to see the engagement coming in, which is fantastic. And I just want to thank you for being here today. It's really wonderful to be here every Monday now I've moved it an hour due to feedback. So we're now at 6 p.m. UK time every Monday, where we are going to learn new coaching concepts every week. We're going to be talking about coaching to some extent. This week, was all about why we don't give advice, for us to reflect and think upon. Some sessions we're going to be introducing models and tools for you to bring into your coaching practice and start to build your own coaching practice each week. This is Coachology in 20. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week at 6 p.m. on Monday. We're going to go into a brand new topic. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week ahead and look forward to seeing you soon.